He's a bridge investigation engineer who's worked on many bridges across the UK. Warren, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What were your thoughts as someone who works in investigation after events? What were your thoughts when you saw this catastrophic event?
Well, first of all, thankfully, this is a very rare accident that we see. But what I did have a look at when I started to look at some of the coverage, the main problem and why the bridge collapsed is there was no impact protection on the piers that were in the river. So the concrete piers, columns that collapsed when the super tank hit it were not designed to be taken out by a boat that weighs probably hundreds of tons. And what we've got to look at is, unfortunately, we're now looking at a structure that was started construction in 72, finished in 77. And I'm pretty sure the US are going to really update a lot of standards with respect to how we protect supports in rivers.
Is this an old bridge? As you say, they began construction in 1972, but I don't know how long bridges should be standing.
Well, no, all bridges will have a design life, but that doesn't mean if it's only a 50-year design life on January the 1st of the 51st year, they're going to fall down. But it does mean that we need to keep an eye on them. And what we do have a robust system here that's run by the Department of Transport and National Highways. And we do inspect, test is the bit that I get involved with, and we do inspections. And then that's fed into the repairs and remedial measures that are required. This bridge probably in its day was built to the relevant standards. But I know that a lot of the stuff we look at, I mean, I look at a lot of bridges that are rail bridges over rivers, and there's loads of sort of crash protection, impact protection around the piers and the abutments to ensure that this doesn't happen. But I mean, the classic is the Dartford River crossing, quite thin, spindly concrete columns. But when you get down to the river level, there's a base of concrete there, probably the size of a tennis court. And that's a completely separate structure. So we do design for it here because that's not as old as 72. So yeah, we do need to keep an eye on our old bridges. They're not getting any younger.
Is it unusual then for a bridge like that to have ships that size going through, just being being controlled by the ship or being controlled by the crew and not being pulled by tugs or controlled in any other way?
I wouldn't know about how they are going to be moved about. I've heard, like yourself, about the breakdown of something on the ship. But the problem is when that bridge was built in 72, the traffic running over it was a lot smaller and lighter than it is today. And the ships that are running underneath it were definitely smaller and weighed less back in 72. So we're not really, I don't think we're really keeping up with the size of the transportation we're now using.
Are there more modern bridges that could have withstood a collision of a boat that size?
If they had this impact protection, potentially, but it is always, if you have to over-design a bridge to the point where, I don't know how much the super tanker weighed, but it could be the case if we designed for worst case scenario every eventuality, we wouldn't build anything, or the cost of building would be so astronomical that people wouldn't be we're not happy with our taxes rising here. So if you can think how much you'd need to pour hundreds and if not thousands of tons of concrete around them supports to protect them for unfortunately a one-off event. And that's, it's a lot of the design is based upon a risk assessment, and I'm thankful that I don't have to get involved with that. I just looking to see that they actually are quality controlled at what we're looking at. So it's a very sad, but thankfully a very rare accident that you would see here. But we have had other ones where boats have hit piers and caused collapses. So I think, like I said, I think the legislation will be changed to ensure that we do protect these bridges more in the future.
Warren Thomas, thank you very much indeed for joining us. That's Warren Thomas.
My pleasure.
Thank you. A bridge investigation engineer.